So namaste and welcome. Namaste. Thanks for tuning in. I want to think about your spine a little bit today, and I want to think energetically about your spine first. And so we'll use some sound to think about the spine, a couple different sounds, and then we'll focus on moving your spine in some different directions today. I feel like um, both figuratively and literally, this season starts to increase the compression on your spine as we start to wear heavier gear and we start to hunker down and we start to round our shoulders. So to bring that elasticity back into the spine is our goal for today's practice. Start by bringing your hands into the center of your heart. And just the action of your thumbs coming to touch your breastbone with your prayer, let that sit you up tall. And see how that changes your breath. And imagine that when you breathe in, that the vertebrae actually pull apart a little bit so that when you breathe in, the intervertebral discs can inflate a little bit more. And then when you exhale, there's of course a little contraction back into that space, but perhaps it's less of a contraction. So you have this accordion action that moves through this vertical plane of your spine with your breathing. And then also imagine it moving in this lateral way so that when you expand out into your rib cage, the spaces between your ribs also open up so that the action of breathing broader also accentuates and adds to this lift in your overall spine. And let that happen on its own in your own time, a few cycles. And there's a series of sounds, bijas they're called, bija mantras, that go along with the chakra system. And it starts down at your tail and travels up toward your crown. And there's 7 of these sounds, and they are lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, om, and om. Right? And they're just these little sounds that trigger the awakening of the points on your spine that intersect with the nadis, the energy channels, and where we visualize the chakras. We can also think of these points along your spine as na, ma, sh, va, and ya, a different set of sounds for the elements, and then finishing those off with om and om. So that'll be the sounds that we make in a moment, but begin simple with the sound of om. Breathe in. Om. Let your hands come to rest somewhere on your knees or in your lap. And the sound lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, om, om. So I'll do it and then you repeat it back. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, om, om. Together. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, om, om. Me. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, om, om. Together. Lam, vam, ram, yam, ham, om, om. Listen. Namah Shivaya Om Om. Together. Namah Shivaya Om Om. Listen. Namah Shivaya Om Om. Vam together. Namah Shivaya Om Om. Lam Vam together. Lam Vam Ram Yam Ham Om Om. Do that again. Lam Vam Ram Yam Ham Om Om. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya Om Om. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya Om Om. One more time. Lam Vam. Lam Vam Ram Yam Ham Om Om. Lam Vam. Lam Vam Ram Yam Ham Om Om. Waking up the energy and the elements that move through your spine. Breathe all the way in and all the way out. God. And then you can keep the seat that you have. You can change it if you like, but stay on your seat. And then begin to let your head move around so that there's a little bit of a roll toward your left. And then through center, a little bit of a roll over to your right. And notice what else wants to move. So it's just your head. So isolating your C-spine. And only doing tilts, not doing circles. So you tilt through the middle. And then you tilt back over. And then notice where your shoulders might want to get involved. And see if you can keep them heavy away from your ears. Keep your jaw unhinged. And move slowly through the whole sweep so that you don't get into using momentum at all. And Veronica, I'll just say to you, first of all, welcome. Same to you, Joan. A blanket is the thing that I will need you to have just near the end, so you don't really need to have it yet. And I'll ask you to be able to touch a wall at some point. A little bit more of these tilts side to side. Last couple in each direction. One more over to your left. And then on to the right side. Good. And then start to make your way onto all fours. And when you get to all fours, spread out through your palms. Bring your chin into your chest. And then as you lift your gaze, gaze forward out in front of you. So not changing your spine at all right now, at least not your thoracic spine or your lumbar spine, just still focusing on your thoracic spine. So these little movements, chin to chest, and then gazing forward. Never going to the point of craning when you're going forward. Never going to the point of squeezing when you're gazing inward. Inhaling, your gaze goes forward. And then exhaling, your gaze goes inward. And when you're going inward, see if you can keep the unhinge of your jaw. So it almost feels like you have a bit of an underbite when you're going in. And see if that gives you more access to flex right at your big thoracic notch. Last few like that. Take one more tilt open and one more drawing in. Good, and then have a seat back on your heels. And when you come to your heels, cross your arms in front of your body. So you've got one elbow on top of the other. And then keep that as you begin to let your head circle around now. And through this crossing, really grip your fingers against your outer shoulder. And it's this little grip that changes the action in your shoulder blades, as well as the action around the top of your shoulder across the trapezius. Still keeping your jaw unhinged. And using the grip to feel broad across your upper back. You might notice little bits of shortening through your waist as you move, and that's okay. Pause, undo your arms, and then redo them with the other arm on top. So you come into this deep embrace again, arms wrapped, and then see if you can remember which way you were circling, and circle the opposite way. And I don't know if it's the same for you, but I find that when I cross my arms, I get a lot less stickiness when my head is tilted. So it allows me to move through this full circle. And remember, that doesn't include looking up at the ceiling. So at no point do you want your head to drop back. You're just passing through neutral. But there's a lot less of a reaction from my shoulder and across the trapezius once you had the crossing of your arms. A few more times with this crossing. Last time around. Good. And then release your arms and come again onto all fours. And then when you're on all fours, move your hands backward a couple of inches, just so you shorten the distance some. And you can have your toes pointed or curled, totally up to you. But bring your chin into your chest, and it's going to stay there. So as you breathe in, you shift some weight forward and try to spread your upper back. And as you exhale, keep your chin against your chest and move your hips backward in space. Shift forward and really draw your breastbone up into your spine. So you round, 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 and then move it back. And then you lean forward and you dig into your hands, even draw your belly up and in, and then you move back.
So you're moving into more roundness or flexion in your thoracic spine every time you shift forward, and you do that from the ground. Right? So you really press and expand. And it might even feel a little bit explosive coming away from your heels, and then it goes into slow motion. You can add a little bit of tailbone kick forward into your body as you're shifting. So you get more length from your mid back down to about your middle lumbar spine. Moving some room. A few more like that. Last couple. One more time. Good. Come to a neutral spine. You can walk your knees up by your hands, move your feet to the side, and lie back on your back. And initially, just allow yourself to settle so your shoulders feel heavy, your hips feel heavy. Notice where you feel like you want to move and just move in that place. Keep the soles of your feet flat to the mat. And come back to that sense of breathing that feels like you are separating the vertebrae a little bit more when you inhale. And then naturally coming back to a more neutral, natural place with that. And do that a few times, breathing in without overdoing it or trying to accentuate it. So you're just breathing as naturally as possible. Last couple like that. Good. And then stretch out your legs onto the mat. And feel active in your legs without getting rigid or feeling like you're working in your legs. You can feel a little bit like you're in Shavasana, but you want your toes to go up to the ceiling. And you can rest your hands either on your thighs or better yet on your belly, right? And when they're on your belly, your elbows might occasionally float off the mat. Take your breath in while you're here, and then as you exhale, pull your chin into your chest so that you can see your toes. Bring your head back down, and then exhale, round your chin into your chest and be able to see your toes. And then a few times like that, inhaling your head down, chin to your chest, and down, and chin to your chest, and down. One more time like that, chin to your chest, and down. And you can feel how you use the muscles around your neck, but also the muscles in your chest and in your abdominals. Right? We'll come back to that in a moment. For now, stick your legs up to the ceiling. So you want your legs to be as vertical as possible. And then take your arms up to the ceiling. So it feels like you're kind of reaching for your toes, but they're out of reach. And you're not going to move your arms here. And your arms stay right where they are. Take a breath in, and then as you exhale, move your legs back in space until your toes tap your fingers, and then return your legs to vertical. Exhale, toes to fingers. Exhale, toes to fingers. And all the while, your head stays down, toes to fingers. And it's very, very tempting to move your arms to get there, or to move quickly to get there. But allow yourself to move slowly. Just a little tap. Notice if your pelvis is coming quickly off the ground, or if things feel like they want to contract at your neck again. No contraction at your neck. When in doubt, move your arms further away from your toes. just so that you know that you're not moving your arms to do the tap. So right now my arms are not totally vertical. They actually moved a little bit in the direction of my ears. Turning on your hip flexor to bring your legs. So it turns on your abdominals a little bit. And this will be really useful when it comes time to use the blanket near the end of the practice. A few more times like this. Notice if one set of toes gets to your hand first. And that might be an imbalance in where your arms are. And sometimes it's an imbalance in your pelvis. Sometimes it's an imbalance in how your muscles are working. And that one set of muscles is playing catch up with the other. Last 3, 2, 1. And then bend your knees, drop your soles, and stretch out your legs to the floor again. Have your hands rest on your belly like before. Take a full breath in. Stay for the out breath. And then like before, as you're exhaling, bring your chin toward your chest, but now let your shoulders lift off the mat a little bit. Look at your toes. And then come back down. Exhale your chin toward your chest. Lift your shoulders. Come back down. So flexing through your upper spine. Lifting, rounding, gazing. A few more times. Last couple. It feels kind of like the way that Dracula starts to come out of the coffin, head first, and then round, and then release. Good. Move your head side to side. Bend your knees. Walk your feet in. And you can hold onto your knee creases and then rock and roll a few times, just massaging your low back. Keep your head and shoulders lifted as you rock so that you don't bonk your head. Don't rock with so much enthusiasm that you smack your pelvis. Last couple of rocks. And then up to sit. And then once you're up to sit, come to your knees again. But you're standing on your knees, okay? Take your arms and wrap them around your body again like you had earlier. So earlier it was just your head, and now it's going to be your entire spine. So that as your arms are crossed, try not to look in all directions, but see your elbows first, and then begin to rotate your spine over toward the left. See your knuckles. See your elbows as you pass through the middle. See your knuckles as you go over to your right and come back. Go the other way. You see your elbows start to roll over to your right. See your knuckles. Elbow. Knuckles. Elbow. Other way. So you take these spinal circles, and you might start to see past your knuckles. Other way. And see a little bit of your foot. The one thing you're not going to ever look for is the ceiling. Rotating around. And notice how you have to use the anchor of your legs. So the more that you want to rotate your spine, the more you have to press into the tops of your feet.
Always changing the direction. You might only see your foot in the initial rotation, not in the return, but who knows, right? Elbow, toes, elbow, toes, elbow, toes, elbows, toes. And then pause, and then just for the sake of feeling balanced, cross your other arm on top. Yeah. And then take the circles around, back. And what you might notice is how much your obliques work here. And those are great stabilizers for your entire spine, right? So stabilizing as much as you find movement, right? You never want more than one, more of the other, right? You always want as much of both with those. Flexibility and stability. The side benefit to these rotations is that you open up some through the front of your hip and into your psoas. Because when your psoas gets really tight, that accordion elastic way of breathing through your spine starts to feel less possible. Take it around a couple more times. Once more. Reverse it. Good. And then pause in the middle. Let your arms drop. Have a brief seat to your heels. Take a breath all the way in and all the way out. Good. And then slowly make your way up to stand. And then once you're standing up, stand with your feet, roughly hip distance apart. A natural stance, like a Tadasana of sorts. And then allow yourself to drop your chin into your chest here. Exhale. And then when you breathe in, you can take your gaze all the way up to the ceiling. And then exhale your chin into your chest. And then up to the ceiling. Into your chest. And inhale up to the ceiling. And then add to that, right? So that when you breathe in, it goes up to the ceiling. And then lead with your chin into your chest. Slide your hands down your thighs and round over to yourself so that your palms land on the mat slightly farther forward in front of your toes than they might naturally go. And then start by rounding up, pressing into your feet. Your chin stays into your chest until you come all the way up and you tip up your gaze. Rounding over, chin, upper back, so your shoulders close, your hands slide, you roll forward, hands to the mat. Reverse that. Your hands can slide up the inseam of your leg. So you keep the roundness in your upper back until you rise up, shoulders back, gaze up. And then into yourself, rounding. More weight to the ball mound of your foot. So it's not about your hamstrings, but moving through the wave-like motion of your spine. And over.
Few more times. Last couple of those. So you'll fold over 2 more times. One last fold. And then slowly up. Gaze to the ceiling once you're all the way up. One last time. Good. And then that same distance between your feet. Let your arms hang down by your sides. And then rotate by swinging. So when you're initially swinging, you can let one hand touch your belly and the other arm open up. If that's more than your shoulder wants, keep it a little smaller through the rotation. And you can also have your elbows soft. Right? Notice your knees and try to keep your legs long so you're not doing big changes in your knees. Notice how your gaze follows the twist. So try not to let your head go around first. It might still be at your belly, or you might start to tap your chest. And if the arm swinging around that way is too much, then you can also keep it low and let your arms sweep around like they're kind of asleep, right? So using it's a small amount of momentum, but not getting into powerful or aggressive momentum. A few more times like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let everything settle. And then walk over to a wall surface. So that you can have your palm to the wall, arm's distance, right? So you're able to touch the wall, and then you can step in a tiny bit closer. So you feel like you've got your head over your tail, one palm to the wall, and then extend your opposite arm out. Take your arm that's out, up and over, so that you side bend in the direction of the wall, and then you come back to that T shape. Do that one more time. So you reach up and over. Your hips have to move away from the wall to help that happen. Touch, and then come back up. And then take the hand that's on the wall and go more toward the ceiling with it. So instead of it being at shoulder height, you're reaching up. And then use the same reach. You go up and over, touch, open, up and over, touch. So you have these side bends through your waist, up and over. And it's not just bending through your side, it's opening the opposite side. So you flare open your ribs to go there.
Your ear might touch your bicep as you come in. Really anchor and press through both feet. So especially the foot that is furthest away from the wall. Press all the way into the pinky edge of it as you reach up and over. 3 more like that. Last 2. One more time. Good. Drop your arms, roll your shoulders a couple times, and then spin yourself around so the other hand can go to the wall. So you start with an arm's distance, your feet close, and it's at shoulder height first. And then open up the arm that's not touching the wall, reach up and over. Open it up and over. You can bend the elbow of the wall arm, and then go back up that way one more time. Good. And then take your wall hand up, plant into your palm, and then reach up, touch, side bending. Flare your ribs away from the wall, touch, reach up and over. Make sure that you're not turning your torso toward the wall, right? So you're really side bending rather than turning to touch. So it doesn't feel like you're crossing over your body, but you tilt. And there's that moment where you feel like, oh, I'm never going to touch the wall, and then open your ribs to find that space. So thinking about the facet joints on the side of your spine. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And then come back to your mat space. If you left it to find a wall, that is all the wall that you need. And then when you get back to your spot, take what you were doing with the rotations, but now they don't have any momentum. So start with a prayer at the center of your heart. Reach your arms forward. And then right from that place, take your right arm, circle it up and back, but keep looking at your left thumb. And then reach up and forward. Connect. Left arm. So there's still some rotation. Doesn't feel as big because now you're asking your pelvis to stay where it is, even as you open up and rotate a little bit through your upper spine. And you might just notice it in the shoulder, but hopefully you also feel the muscular action in your waist. So when I'm reaching here, I feel my left waist saying, but we don't want to hold. And you come back around. Right arm. And then I really feel my right waist responding to that. Left arm. Up. One more for each arm. Last arm. Good. And then arms down by your sides. And then we're going to take that into waving your spine, right? So that you want to have a sense of snaking your spine. You can relive the 80s and breakdancing. Hands on your thighs. When it starts, you're going to lead with your nose and your chin. So you can jut your nose and your chin forward, pull it back in. And then when your nose and your chin go forward, let your tush poke out behind you some. Right? So you release these 2 points and then draw that back in. And then you can watch for a second. I think you can see this, right? So that when I lead with my chin, snake and roll, and then it comes back in. So now my pubis and my chin are coming close to each other as I come back. And then it's a snake, roll, and then it continues. Snake, join in whenever, and roll. So you articulate through the whole movement. And it can be very small, or it can be a bit larger. But it does mean that you have to release in the middle. Just a couple more of these forward waves. Good, and then pause. And so what's the opposite of that? When you instead don't lead with your head and tail and release, you lead with your pelvis. So chin into your chest, pelvis forward first, ripple open, come back, round in, pelvis, opening, in, pelvis, throat, in, pelvis, through. A few more times, pelvis, throat, chin in, pelvis, through. Last two, chin, pelvis, throat, chin, pelvis, throat. Good. Make sure you feel steady and balanced, and then start to make your way down to the ground. And when you come down to the ground, put yourself onto your right hip. So you can have the blanket there if that feels nice. And when you're on your right hip, cross your left leg over, set your left foot flat. Drop your right wrist underneath your right shoulder so that your fingers point away from you. So you've already got, just by sitting here, hopefully a lot of room in your right waist. And that can be the thing, just a static right waist opening. Or you can press into your right hand and into both feet to lift your hips and then reach your left arm alongside your ear. So now you open up your left waist. And then you draw that back down, but you're consciously keeping your shoulder over your wrist the whole time. You inhale, lift, shoulder over your wrist, and then your left arm can go alongside your ear. Keep your shoulder strong over your wrist as you come back down, and then up, and down. So there's minimal change in the relationship of your shoulder over your wrist. But the change is happening, opening in your right waist, and then opening in your left waist. One more time. Good. Slow landing, and then other side. So you feel as though your left hip, outer left hip is on the ground. Step your right foot over. Left shoulder over your left wrist. And again, sitting here is great because it opens up through your left waist and gives you a sense of side bend. So you can stay here. Or use your breath in to press, lift, and then reach right next to your head. Keep your shoulder stable on the way down, right? Because it wants to roll in. So you want to make sure it stays open as you go up, and it stays open as you come down. lifting by pressing. So anytime it becomes a thrust, up with your hips, rein it in, slow it down, press into both feet, press into your left hand, lift through your waist, and down. Last couple. One more time. Good. And then once you're there, stretch out your legs. If the blanket's on your mat, move it away for now. Have your legs outstretched in front of you. And a little bit like when you were lying on your back, stretch your arms in the direction of your legs. Just look behind you, make sure there's nothing that you're going to roll into, and then take a breath in, and then exhale slowly. Begin to roll back until you land on your back. The moment you do, draw your knees in, keep your head lifted, and then move yourself right back up to sit with a rock. Arms. Roll. Exhale, 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 exhale. Bend and grab. Rock. Inhale. Exhale. Roll, 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 roll until you're empty and you're down. Up with a breath in, you reach. Exhale, 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 exhale. Knees, you're not even breathing there. Inhale. Back, back, back. Bend. Up. Reach. Lower. Rock. 3 more times. When you get up, you might even touch your toes before you round. Bend. Toe touch. Round, round. In and up. And then stay up and bring a loose diamond shape to your legs, sitting on your sitting bones. Interlace your fingers. Hook underneath the baby toe side of your foot. So when you're here, rather than trying to lead with your chest, move your breastbone into your body so there's some natural roundness in your upper back. Right? And then from there, your elbows can drop and touch the front of your shins. And you're not trying to pull yourself down. You're not trying to fold. You're just allowing your body to fall into this shape slowly. And then your elbows can widen and lower a little bit. So it naturally folds you with your head getting closer to your feet. And then you might broaden your upper back, lean forward some. Pausing. And then your head can start to get heavy in the direction of your feet. And you might find that your head, around your hairline perhaps, can start to touch your feet. Last couple of breaths here.
And then slowly sit yourself up.
And then find your blanket. Your blanket comes down across your mat so that it's behind you. When you lie back, make sure that your shoulders are propped on the blanket, but your head is not. So you'll have this nice drop through your pubis to your tail, which gives your low back its natural shape. And so the idea here is to put into practice much of what you've done, right? So with your arms down on the mat, you can have your elbows down, but your palms up. Take a breath in, and then as you exhale, let your thighs come close into your body. And then from there, you can press into your elbows and take your legs up and over to plow. Once you're there, you can let your palms turn down to the mat and try to broaden some room across your upper shoulders until it feels like your hips are moving in the direction of your shoulders. And then your hands can come to support your back if that's okay with your hands. And then you just have this moment where there's definitely some roundness in your middle back. And then you can experiment with one leg and only one leg going up and coming back down. And the other leg going up and coming back down. And then once both feet are down, see if you can feel a deepening crease at your hip. You can cactus your arms on the floor. A deep connection of your chin to your chest. And then let your knees get heavy towards your eyebrows. So you can start to roll down. Your hands can grab your feet. So that as your pelvis lands, you're right in happy baby. And because the blanket's there, I naturally then get a little release in my low back because my pelvis is lower than my shoulders, so my lumbar curve is accentuated. And you can be there drawing in for a breath more. And then if you're holding your feet or your knees, start to let go. Roll in fetal shape to one side. And then roll in fetal shape to the other. And then you can sit yourself up and move your blanket and set yourself up for rest. Lie back how you like. You can always set the blanket up with a roll shape down the center of your spine if you like, to give yourself some extra opening across your chest. Let your breath go. Let your body go.
Guru Mahadeva Guru Mahadeva Guru Mahadeva Shiva Shiva Guru Dev Guru Mahadeva Guru Mahadeva Guru Mahadeva Shiva Shiva Guru Dev Guru Mahadeva Guru Mahadeva Guru Mahadeva Shiva Shiva Guru Dev Shiva Shiva Guru Dev. Start to breathe deeply again. Start to move around. Bend your knees. You can roll to your side. You can rock yourself up to sit or use your hands to come up to sit. Bring your hands together at the center of your heart. We are one life, we are one light, and we are one love. It is with gratitude that I bow, honoring the divine in each of you.